Call of Duty is making some changes coming in Season 2 on February 15th. Big changes, small changes, and from the looks of it, things are reverting a little bit more back to Warzone 1 in terms of movement and mechanics. Not fully, but there are some changes that sort of push this game into that direction. Oh, and also for the DMZ players, sounds like your stuff might get wiped? Kind of a bummer if it is. But first and foremost, let's go over some of the general changes, specifically changes to audio. This has been one of the biggest gripes that I've seen, at least on Twitter. People weren't able to hear footsteps right before getting assassinated by a nearby gamer, and it appears there was some sort of material that would be tagged in a way that was supposed to muffle the footsteps when this wasn't actually the case. So that seems to be the problem. Hopefully these changes will help on that front, but there are still a lot of background noises that happen, things like notifications popping up or unlocking a weapon, something like that, but we'll see how they handle that. The UI is something that's also going to be changed. Now, while I'm used to it now, it's been incredibly annoying to deal with. A nice vertical menu would be nice, but we'll see what they do with that. Unfortunately for a lot of you, there's no news about stat tracking. I know that's not a huge deal for me personally, but I know a lot of people like to look into that and like to keep track of that and really like to brag on Twitter and stuff like that. So I don't know when that's coming, but my prime was about 10 years ago, so it doesn't really matter to me. To go along with this, there's going to be some weapon balancing. You'll likely see less of the RPK and the Fennec during your gameplay experience. I'm sure all of us are pretty tired of that. But let's move on now to the Battle Royale experience, specifically Warzone 2.0. To all the gamers out there that had to team up with me and attempt to escape the Gulag, this one's for you. I won't be dragging anyone down anymore with me because the Gulag is returning to a 1v1 with some changes to the loadout and the ground loot as well. The loadouts are going to be randomized a little bit, so instead of just pistols and shotguns, you'll spawn with assault rifles, SMGs, and LMGs as that circle progresses, and the shotguns aren't going to be there anymore. You'll also now have a larger cash reward when you exit the Gulag, with cash loot being on the ground in the arena during the fight. Hopefully this helps the many players that will defeat me get back on their feet a little easier. Speaking of cash, there's some changes coming to that system. They're going to be reducing the cash rewards for completing contracts just a bit and increasing the cash on the ground and from cash registers. Now, unfortunately, they'll be removing cash from the basic and legendary supply boxes, but it still sounds like it's going to be found in other areas. Now, on to looting, and here's an interesting change. I'm not sure I agree with this one. Right now, we've got the boxes that pop up for us and we can choose what exactly we want to loot. It can be a little bit slower, I'm guessing, especially if you're on a controller. However, they're going back to the old style where the loot drops and floats on the ground. It's supposed to make things a little bit quicker and smoother, but I'll occasionally run into an instance where I'm trying to pick up something from one shelf or on the ground, and I can't because it's not letting me without picking up something else on the floor. Personally, I prefer the way it is now. This allows me to choose a little bit easier exactly what I want. Yes, it does slow down gameplay a little bit, but it's more precise, and I can identify fully what I'm picking up instead of just when loot is vomited all over the floor. In that case, I just start spamming the F button, and whatever happens, happens. But we'll see, I'll adapt. Maybe. But here's probably the biggest change when it comes to looting and equipment. No more 2-plate vests, no more medium and large backpacks. These are completely gone. Everybody's on a level playing field now. Everybody comes with 3 vests and a standard size backpack. You're not going to find anything else while you're playing. Again, for me personally, I'm not a super aggressive person, so the 3-plate vests were pretty easy for me because I drop in where there's a low population of gamers. I'm just not super quick with the gunfire, especially with a pistol, so this doesn't exactly matter to me. But I can see this affecting the early stages for those who do drop in hot or drop in back from the Gulag. Along with this, stacking medical applies, equipment, and kill streaks will also be nerfed in some way. Now, loadouts. Setting up your loadouts is going to be changed a little bit as well. You'll soon be able to customize your perk package instead of the default perk system they have now. All the perks won't be available upon release, but they'll slowly reintroduce them over time as things get a little bit more balanced as they understand it a little bit more. Primary weapons will also still be bought at buy stations, but at a lower price, so that's a good thing, so that those weapons that you work for are available a little bit earlier. Along with this, loadout drop marker prices have been dropped and they will be across all buy stations. They'll also be in some loot stashes, but they're going to be extremely rare here. And then those random loadout drop events, they're going to be happening twice now. So with all these changes and the weapon balance coming, hopefully we're going to see a lot more diversity when it comes to the type of gunfights that we get in. During these engagements though, if you're in a little bit of a pickle, great news for you. You'll be able to bust through doors while plating, and your movement speed has been increased slightly while plating. It doesn't appear to be the full sprint, but at least it has some better movement there. At least you're able to escape a little bit and give yourself some breathing room. Rewards for the stronghold and the black site are going to be adjusted as well. Now, on to my favorite part of the game, the DMZ. Gamers, listen, your progress may be wiped. They're not very specific on the game plan here, but they mention that there will be a seasonal refresh where your contraband and your keys will be reset. They don't mention anything about your insured slots, but it looks like in-game inventory items are going to be gone. Along with this as well, new missions are coming in. So I don't know if everybody's going to have their insured slot if you've unlocked it. For me, I don't have any inventory and I don't have an extra insured slot. So this is just something nice to know, I guess. But I know for those of you that worked really hard for everything that you had, that can be a little bit frustrating. I don't know how this is going to go forth. I don't know if they're going to wipe every certain amount of months. I would imagine not, because this isn't exactly a Tarkov style game. I mean, you can lose everything, you can get everything back. We're going to have to see how they progress this mode. I think they're doing a little bit of experimenting because it's something new for Call of Duty, but I think the DMZ in general is a lot of fun. But what I do care about, and you probably care about as well, is the AI and DMZ are going to be tuned. Solo gamers like me, you're going to stand a chance now, hopefully anyway. Spawn numbers and the accuracy of the AI is going to be tuned a little bit, and hopefully this helps out with how quickly they can overwhelm a player. I've died countless times because they just keep coming and coming and coming. To go along with that, spawn points are going to be tweaked a little bit. I know there were a couple spawn points where you can just basically go and attack someone, and that's not ideal because you want to go in and you want to search a little bit. You want to be given some time to just be yourself, get acclimated to where you're at. To go on a little bit back at the wipe, there's some missions that are going to be changed a little bit or made a little bit easier to get that additional insurance slot. Again, I have not unlocked it. Granted, it's not the only game that I play, so it can be difficult for those very casual players and might hinder them from that experience. So I'm guessing they're making that change for that specific reason. And then obviously crashes are on the list as well. It's hardly happened to me, it only happened back in the beginning, but I can only imagine if you've dropped in with your insured item and then you disconnect, you lose everything. So that's very, very frustrating for some people. That should be a top priority, honestly. And then moving on, let's go to multiplayer. Not a ton here, but they're doing something a little bit different. They're adjusting the perk system by reducing the time it takes to unlock perk packages. So most gamers are going to get something like Ghost much, much quicker. And this is something that I want to try out here. Ranked play is coming. Don't mind me chilling down in the Copper League or whatever league is the lowest, I don't know. But I'm looking forward to playing it just to see what it's like. I haven't played any ranked mode, but I'm old enough now, I'm mature enough, I think I can handle it. And for my pistol lovers, they're bringing back hardcore mode. This will replace their tier 1 mode. To me, again, this doesn't really matter. I like both modes. I like the immersion, I like the hardcore nature. I just like it all, so no complaints here either way. But another multiplayer mode dynamic that's coming 1 week per month, gamers will get to decide which week's playlist is going to be played. They're going to be doing this by hosting a Twitter poll, and I think that's kind of a cool way to give the community some say. I think that's a really good way to reach out and say, hey, you're involved in some aspect, so just really cool. The Resurgence game mode is making a comeback, so that's fun for those of you that enjoy it. And then we're going to have a new smaller map for Warzone 2. New maps with new dynamics and new game flows, that's always great for gamers like me to enjoy, and I'm excited to try both of those. Overall, it appears they're going back to a lot of what Warzone 1 was. Again, it's not a full implementation of Warzone 1 into Warzone 2. Hopefully they're keeping some of the slower paced mechanics because I personally like that, and I don't want to see the game turned into an essential Apex Legends or something like that. For me, recoil has to be a must, and some sort of grounding and realistic movement is necessary. Otherwise, I don't see me playing this a whole lot. I know personally I just won't be able to keep up if the speed gets too high and if the recoil gets nerfed into the ground. We'll see though. I'm excited to see this. That's pretty much it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, give it a like if you liked it, give it a dislike if you didn't, subscribe for more information like this, and until the next one, be bold, be courageous, stay tactical.